everyone, Falling Star here. Today I'm just going to present all of you guys the new stuff in the Chinese test server. Please keep in mind that because this is a test server, things are still subject to change. However, without further ado, let's get right into it. So as always, when there is a new character, let's start with a new character. So I'm sure if you have been keeping up with news about this game, you've probably heard about how OP she is, or something. Especially Harold. Plenty of posts about it on Reddit. And it is pretty strong. Let's check her skills out. Do keep in mind that the names aren't actual names, they're just my own translations. At the time of writing and recording, I don't know what the actual name is. So the active skill is what I call Explosive Trap. Chio shoots an arrow at something, and the arrow can be triggered to explode on command or when it detects an enemy. I call her passive Calming Force. Chio will continuously recover focus. When attacking, the recovery will be slowed. At max focus, she will consume some focus and deal extra damage when attacking. And her ult, I call it Thermonuclear Warhead, although a more accurate translation might be Maple Arrow. Chio will temporarily see enemies near teammates and will summon a nuke on the enemy from up to 80 meters away. Line of sight is not required. The arrow/nuke will fly as far as the charge or until it hits an enemy, and it will explode shortly after. Her C/tactical skill is Covert Shot. She will charge and fire an arrow, and the arrow will deal high damage on enemies it meets along the way, and also slow enemies along its way. It will pierce all enemies, though. Here are her upgrades. Her Awakening 1 reminds me of Baimo's Awakening 1, where basically Baimo will debuff the enemy after he deals enough damage to them. She's the same here, although she will debuff the enemy's armor and shield recovery. For her Awakening 2, it will just split the active skill's arrow into small energy bodies that will again explode after the initial explosion. Her Awakening 3 will extend the time her arrow from her active skill is present on the field. She will additionally be able to use it during the preparation phase, and she is able to see all the enemies that were damaged by the arrow. Now, some of my general opinion on Chio. The first thing I noticed when trying her out was that she has extremely light recoil, especially in single fire mode, and a very fast firing DMR that can actually go full auto just like Nobunaga's DMR. And yes, by the way, if you're looking at this, there is now a UI to show what firing mode you're on / what scope magnification you're on, if it can vary for the character you're playing. Anyways, Chio's got a fairly solid gun. Compared to the other DMRs, it is actually the fastest firing of them all. However, it also deals the least amount of damage per shot between all the DMRs, even if we account for her passive. Her passive basically gives her a free 15% damage buff from time to time. This applies, at least in test server, to all damage that she deals, whether it be grenades, secondary, or even ults. When the bar is full and she does any sort of damage, she will consume all the energy in her bar, and for the next 2-ish seconds, she will gain the 15% damage buff. Her tactical skill lets her shoot an arrow that will pierce all enemies, although not through walls. This arrow deals about 80 damage and slows the enemy hit by it. Not the most interesting part of her kit. Her active skill is similar, although this time it's more of a trap. If the arrow lands on an enemy, it will explode automatically. Otherwise, it will stay there, and enemies that will approach it will automatically detonate the arrow, or you could also detonate yourself. The arrow also deals about 80 damage. And now for her ult. Who doesn't like a thermonuclear warhead, to be honest? Anyways, her ult costs 7 points, and she can use those 7 points to lob a nuke at anywhere within an 80-meter radius of her. Do keep in mind that it does take a few seconds to charge up a shot, and Chio is completely immobile during the charge up. Make sure to protect Chio if an enemy might be close, or just use the fact that her arrow can go through walls to your advantage. As if that wasn't enough, her ult actually grants skill points when killing enemies. This might change later, but yeah, currently, if you get an ace this round and either kill someone the next round, or just somehow die this round, you are able to immediately use another nuke. This is because both spawning and dying grants you 1 point each. Hooray! Nuke every round! I also happen to ask some high-level players what's their opinion on Chio currently. I think the general idea is that the Chio needs some adjustments, but it's probably alright. Anyways, moving on. They added this new game mode to this game, Sword Clash. Players will fight on team brawl maps and have 4 swords to choose from, each have their own special attack. The classic sword just have the heavy swing. The chicken sword blocks and unleashes a wave on the enemy. The fish sword allows you to spin a few times and deal heavy damage. And blue katana allows you to charge forward and unleash the blow on the enemy. Really fun weapon to use. By default, active and passive skills aren't enabled. It's just that in this specific room, the guy who hosts the room enabled it. Not too much else to say, it's just the first 100 wins. Utilities can be picked up at specific points. There is also a new Blossom Dojo. There are alleys on both sides now. There's also a new map for Outbreak. This is Port Euler Night. The devs did note that there is no ETA for the arrival of this map though. They added a new custom map creator. I can't really showcase much because I suck at building, but I'm excited to see what you guys can come up with. Although here's a map that I found interesting, which is basically someone made Minecraft in this game. It's kind of a shame that you can't enter with buildings, but I find it very interesting. This is mine, in contrast. What can I say? Okay, now moving on to the changes to all the characters. There's a few movement speed changes. So basically, everyone's sprint speed is set to 6 meters per second. And depending on what you're holding and doing, it changes. If you're holding a grenade, a secondary, or activating a skill, you will run at 6 meters per second, unchanged. If you're using SMGs, you will run at 5.8, shotguns at 5.7, assault rifles at 5.5, DMRs and light machine guns at 5.4, and bolt-action snipers at 5.3. It is noticeable on bolt-action snipers. There are also some armor changes, so default armor is now 80, and heavy armor now only grants 20 armor, and light armor only grants regeneration now. The armor for other characters that have extra armor are adjusted accordingly. And like I said before, there's now a UI indicator for what magnification you're on or what type of fire mode you're on. Moving on to the changes to individual characters. The base rate of fire for Xinghui's burst mode is now 666, the same as her full auto mode. Her Awakening 2's duration has been adjusted from 6.5 to 8.5. However, the enemies, when not looking at her, will now be blinded for 0.2 seconds instead of 0.5 seconds. Oh yeah, and the armor she gives herself from her active skill is now changed from 20 to 30. On top of its original effects, Baimo's Awakening 1 now slow you 20% when hitting the enemy. Audrey, Madalena, Richie, Leona, and Nobunaga all have their damage fall off increased by 5 meters, so for Audrey, Leona, and Nobunaga, their damage fall off starts at 50 meters instead of 10, and Richie is 20 meters instead of 15. For Madalena, it is 20 as well, however, she also gets some additional changes to her passives and upgrades. The upgrade plus 3 seconds of exposed footsteps is now plus 1 second of slow. Her Awakening 1 now works on allies. This means that her allies can also hide in her puddles. Her Awakening 2 now creates puddles with only 75% duration of the original puddle. Aiko's ult now only takes 6 points to charge, however, if she does not use all of her charges within 15 seconds, she will lose it all. The tornadoes will now only deal 25 damage instead of 30 damage per second.
I may not be as powerful as you are, but I'm twice as courageous.
Fragrance has her fire rate adjusted to 740, and her damage has been nerfed, as shown on screen. Her active skills effect no longer halves on herself, and her ult has been buffed. She now heals 5 HP per 2 seconds, she will now sprint during her ult, and the casting time will take less time. However, it will now take 7 points instead of 6. There are some mid-range damage nerfs to both Mara and Yvette, as shown on screen now. Additionally, for Yvette, the upgrade for her passive has its effect changed from 50 to 66%, meaning that she will go invisible slightly faster. The bolt action snipers no longer have any damage fall off, and their bolting speed and scoping speed has been increased by 10%. Additionally, Kanami will sprint when casting her active skill. Yugiri got some mild buffs. Her passive now corrodes 10 shield instead of 5. Additionally, the corrosion from Awakening 1 corrodes 5 armors per second instead of 3. The active skill's radius is now 6.5 meters instead of the old 5. And the initial corrosion for all her skills is now 20 instead of 25. The expansion radius for her Awakening 2, basically the awakening that allows her active skill to expand, has been adjusted from 60% to 41%. Flavia has some damage nerfs, I guess. Now for some grenade changes. Interceptors now intercept 2 grenades in total, and it will automatically self-destruct after intercepting 2. The healing grenade now heals 4 HP per second instead of heal 3, and now lasts 15 seconds. But Tattletale will now also slow enemies by 10% when spotting an enemy. Moving on to just miscellaneous adjustments. There's a new placement game mechanic, so basically everyone will start off at the same rank they left off last time, and then they do however many placement matches that they need to do. During those matches, you will not lose any points if you lose or tie, and you will gain double points for winning. So there are some new rank protection mechanisms. When you are about to derank to another major rank, there will be 2 chances to save you. These chances refresh every time you derank or go up a major rank. If you're about to lose points, and as a result of losing those points, you are going to derank, you will be spared for the first 2 times. Although if it happens for a 3rd time, you will derank. Custom rooms now actually award affinity, EXP, some challenge points, and also some dream tokens if you're on the Chinese server. Newbies will get different initial characters, so instead of Madalena, they will get Fusha, and instead of Nobunaga, they will get Flavia. You're now able to use emojis during a match at a push of a button. It was always possible before, but you needed to remember the code for the emojis, which was complicated. So now you can do it more easily. And for the last change, there's now a new currency in the test server that you can use to buy cosmetics. You can buy gliding trails and stuff. If you don't have enough of a new currency or base string to buy the desired cosmetic upgrade, you can also buy the new currency using exchange ratio of 1 of a new currency for 100 Bablo crystals. And before I go, special thanks to Wikai and 96 Yuku. I hope I pronounced all of that correctly. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry that I haven't been posting in a while. And that is it. Thank you for watching, everyone.